Different. We're not here to verify a story, we're gonna deconstruct it, take it apart piece by piece, and see how it works. The source material is a supposed leaked testimony, and let me tell you, its central claim is a big one, a complete re-engineering of reality itself. Our job here is to treat this like a case study in narrative control, to analyze the techniques it uses to make an absolutely extraordinary claim feel, well, plausible.
You know, every powerful narrative kicks off with a disarming question. And this is the hook, right here. It's designed to get you to lower your guard, to bypass that immediate no-way skepticism. It gets us to engage with a pretty radical premise, that the world isn't a constant, but a variable that can be manipulated. Understanding this question as a strategic opening move is the key to unpacking this entire testimony.
And boom, there it is, the bombshell statement. Now notice the language. It's definitive, it's declarative, and it's personal, your old timeline. See, this isn't framed as some debatable theory. It's presented as an accomplished fact that has happened to you. Okay, let's really dive into this. We're gonna break down how this one statement serves as the foundation for an entire system of belief. So let's get to the core assertion. The testimony claims our previous reality, which it conveniently paints as chaotic and unpredictable, has been deliberately shut down. And the metaphor used is so telling, pruned like a defective software build. Think about that. It immediately reframes a potentially terrifying concept into something sterile, technical, just a routine procedure. Here's where we see the creation of a specialized lexicon, a kind of in-group jargon. Terms like the closed loop are meant to legitimize the concept. It frames a radical intervention not as an act of destruction or control, but as a necessary and precise course correction. This is the language of systems management, but it's being applied to all of human history. Pretty clever.
You know what's really interesting is that any narrative of control needs an enemy. It has to have something to push against. And here, the enemy is the past itself. The source builds its case by creating this powerful, simplistic dichotomy. Let's look at the two versions of the world it puts on the table. On the left, you get the old timeline. Freedom, sure, but it's coupled with chaos. On the right, the new timeline. You get stability, but it's achieved through management. This is a classic rhetorical strategy, right? You create a false binary. It forces you to choose between a past that's been portrayed as dangerously unpredictable and a present that's being offered as the only path to safety and order. It's a masterclass in framing. Of course, an operation of this alleged scale can't be justified as just a preference. No way. It has to be sold as a non-negotiable necessity. So the source frames this not as a power grab, but as an emergency protocol, a decision they were forced to make by irrefutable data to prevent a total collapse. And this is the appeal to a higher, unseen authority. The algorithm, the quantum computer, the numbers. The claim is that their predictive models revealed a future of almost certain doom. This positions the architects of the new timeline not as controllers, but as reluctant saviors, just acting on data that we, the public, couldn't possibly comprehend. And this chart just brilliantly illustrates their core tactic. Presenting a 95% probability of collapse isn't about informing you, it's about eliminating the debate. It manufactures consent by making any other option seem catastrophically irresponsible. Suddenly, the argument isn't about which future is better, but about accepting the only one that isn't a complete disaster. So if the justification is survival, what about the mechanics? I mean, how was this monumental shift actually accomplished? The testimony doesn't just point to abstract forces, it claims specific, real-world mechanisms were the levers for this change. And this is the crucial point. The narrative is extremely careful to insist this was not some violent takeover. It was a subtle redirection, a soft intervention that works by making the desired path the path of least resistance. It's all about steering, not commanding. And here they are, the alleged levers of social engineering. First, you use social pressure to make the new consensus feel inevitable. Second, you create economic incentives that reward compliance and penalize anyone who deviates. And third, and maybe the most powerful of all, is algorithmic reinforcement, using technology to curate a reality where the approved narrative is the only one that seems to exist. Finally, any comprehensive narrative has to account for its outliers. What about the people who notice the changes, who feel the glitches in the matrix? Well, the testimony has a built-in protocol for dealing with them, a way to neutralize dissent before it can even gain traction. According to the source, those who don't adapt get recategorized as faulty data points.
That cognitive dissonance, that persistent feeling that something is just wrong, is dismissed as a personal failing. See, they aren't silenced with force. They're simply labeled, marginalized, and made to feel irrelevant within a system that has already moved on. And this quote, this is the narrative's masterstroke. It reframes any legitimate opposition as just a sentimental, irrational attachment to a failed system. It's a psychological tool designed to invalidate criticism by defining it as an emotional flaw, not a rational critique. It disarms resistance by pathologizing it. And the source material ends right there, posing this as a final, open question. It suggests that while a timeline can be closed, individual memory might be the one variable that can't be perfectly managed. For anyone deconstructing these narratives of control, that's the key takeaway. Where does the story's influence end, and where does your own personal experience begin?